Alrighty.
So, welcome to this Thursday training. And tonight's topic is on Earth Care congregations and how to become certified as an Earth Care congregation. And it includes some tips and hints about just how to make our buildings, our churches and sanctuaries more efficient, which is a good thing to know all by itself, but linked to our care for creation and for God's good earth. So, leading us today are two members of Westminster Presbyterian Church in Wilmington, Sally Butner and Roger Reinecker, who have been leading the charge at Westminster, which is one of our Earth Care congregations here in Newcastle Presbytery. So I'm going to pray and then turn it over to them. If there are questions while they're presenting, we can put them in the chat and there'll be time for conversation and questions at the end. So let's pray. Creating God, in those creation stories, you laid out such a beautiful world with abundance, a world that you called good 7 times, and a world that you asked us to be good stewards of. Here we are, these generations and generations later, still struggling with what it means to be stewards of your good creation and still longing for that creation to be made whole. So be with us as we learn ways that we can be stewards within the buildings that are entrusted to worship and mission and ministry, ways that we can commit to care for the earth, care for this environment and this planet that we all depend on. Guide us in this time and deepen our love for your very good creation. I ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
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 All right, Roger and Sally,
Yes.
get away.
Okay, I will go ahead and share my screen.
All right. Cindy, thanks so much. Roger and I really appreciate the opportunity to be here this afternoon to talk about something that's dear to Westminster. I'm going to focus on the Earth Care certification process, and Roger, the engineer, will tell you about some things that we've done at Westminster. Roger.
Okay, and I want to change the slide. There we go.
Yeah, thank you. So the church has been calling us to focus on creation care for a long time. These are a few of the overtures over the years, and starting in 1990, there may have been some before that. In 1990, the General Assembly called on Presbyterians to focus on caring for creation as a central concern. Then we were called on to go carbon neutral. There was a comprehensive report on the treatment of climate change and steps to be taken in 2008. And in 2022, there were three overtures. The first one, ENV 08, our presbytery concurred with comment, and it urges congregations and individuals to be carbon neutral or even carbon positive by 2030, and talked about initiatives to reduce the carbon footprint by 25%, and then going for a goal of 100% renewable energy. Thanks, Roger. This comes from a sermon that our pastor, Greg Jones, did a year ago. And for me, it really sums all of this up. For people of faith, caring for God's creation is an expression of our devotion to God. We've been certified for 15 years, expecting our 16th certification coming shortly. It's kind of surprising to me there are only two churches in our presbytery that are certified, And we hope that will grow a lot. It's not that difficult to become certified, and it's a great opportunity to make a statement of values. And there are a number of benefits that come with being certified: reducing carbon footprint, saving money, raising awareness in the congregation of the importance of creation care. And also, we think it's a selling point or something that's attractive to people who might be interested in joining the church because they have similar um, desire to be caring for creation. So, how to become certified? As I say, it's not that difficult. The forms are available at that link, PCUSA. And the first step would be to form a green team and then to complete an audit of the church in four areas. That's worship, education, facilities, and outreach. And to become certified, you would need 25 points in each one of those for a total of at least 100. And the next step would be for a session to approve the Earth Care Pledge, which I'll show in just a second, and then to go ahead and submit the application for certification. So when I first saw this worksheet, it's actually just part of the worksheet for getting the points. I was totally intimidated, totally intimidated. But then, Roger, if you could go to the next slide, I'll show you it's really nowhere near as scary as I thought it was at first. So this is just an example of the worksheet, and it's only part of the section on worship. So there are a whole bunch of opportunities to get points. The way this works is if you look at the second line down or third, depending on how you count, but the number of Sundays devoted to earth care in the past year, go ahead to the right. If a church has done that once in the year, the church would have 5 points, or if it had been 5 cases, then it would be 25 points, and so on down through those four categories. This is the pledge, which I'm not going to read. It's available online and at the link at the top. And then Roger, the next slide is kind of a highlights of it. It's really making commitments in these four areas of worship, education, seeking learning and teaching opportunities, managing facilities in a manner that's creation care oriented by energy efficiency and renewable energy where possible. And then outreach to encourage public policy, community involvement. To me, one way to encourage public policy is by concurring with an overture, for example. And then the clerk of session signs that, and then the package is submitted for certification. That's okay, Roger. Thanks.
Okay, sorry.
No worries. There are some programs in Delaware that can help with energy efficiency and renewables. And a really good place to go is Energize Delaware, which Energize Delaware is a quasi-state organization. And it offers free industrial grade energy assessment programs for nonprofits. We took advantage of this program, and we had a number of graduate students,
Yeah, a professor and three students.
3 students, and they were very, very thorough in their work. We were down in the boiler. It's hot down there. There are a lot of pipes. And we were up on the roof, which I thought was a lot of fun, looking at chillers. Of course, I was not the engineer, so I wasn't looking at them quite the same way as the others were. And the result of the audit is a detailed report that identified savings opportunities. It's a really great report because it identifies the potential kilowatt hour savings or potential gas savings, and then the dollar savings, the cost to implement, and the payback period. So it's easy to pick where to go first. And the benefits of the program are 10 to 30% savings on energy bills. The first place to go if you're interested in that is to contact Drew Slater, who's the executive director of the program at SEU. In Delaware, there are also grant possibilities for energy efficiency. There's a program called Energy Efficiency Investment for Nonprofits, commonly known as EAF, and it provides for grants for specific measures, also a custom grant that's more complicated, but the specific measures piece would be if you want to upgrade lights to LEDs, or if you wanted to get a heat pump, then it's best to get pre-approval for those measures, because that way you know the funds are committed to what you're doing. There are kind of two branches to getting an EAF grant, and it depends on whether the church pays the public utility tax or not. And that's easy to figure out by looking at the utility bill. If the church does not pay the public utility tax, then they would go through Energize Delaware for EAF grants. If the church does pay the public utility tax, they would go to Delaware's Department of Natural Resources and Environmental Control, otherwise known as DNREC. Also, there are grants available for solar panels. For Delmarva customers, that we're most familiar with that because Westminster is a Delmarva customer, and we did apply for grants through Delmarva's green energy program. It was good. It was a really good program. It cut back a little bit now because there's this investment tax credit. At first, there wasn't the investment tax credit availability, so the grant rate was a little bit higher, and we were able to slip in when both things were in effect, which was really helpful. There also are grants from the Delaware Electric Cooperative and Delaware Municipal Electric Corporations, but I seem to be getting different information about all of those. And if anybody's interested in that, the best thing would be to look on the website and contact the person who's in charge. But really importantly, the federal investment tax credit is still in effect for projects that begin before July of this year or are placed in service before December of next year. This is a really big deal because it's a 30% credit. And it used to be that since it was a tax credit, it only benefited corporations, entities that paid tax, that'd be for-profit corporations, no value to nonprofits. But the Inflation Reduction Act had a provision that said that nonprofits could get a direct payment. Since they wouldn't get any tax benefit, they could get an actual payment from the Treasury. And we did the 30% tax credit in form of direct pay. It's known as elective pay or direct pay. Limited time availability, though. And I will turn things over to Roger.
Thank you, Sally. I am going to talk about what we've actually done at the church in a little bit more detail. And
before you do, Marge
yeah.
Johnson's got her hand raised. Marge, do you have a question about the solar panels?
I don't have a question about the solar panels. I just wanted to ask Sally, do I understand correctly in trying to apply for the approval, the thing that PCUSA does, that the church would go through all of those items and pick which ones they want to do to be able to reach their 100 points? Would that be the idea?
It would be, but it also wouldn't be surprising if the church has done any work at all to already have enough points to be qualified.
Oh, okay.
So I did a really, really quick run through this afternoon of where Westminster stands, and I think I came up with 200 and some points. So yeah, it's not that difficult, and it's really good at raising awareness. And of course, it's a whole long list of things that the church could do. So there are things on there that we haven't done that we maybe could do.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
Okay, well, I'll go ahead. Talk about some of the things that we have done in the last number of years. So we put in some charging stations, and this was 2 double chargers in our parking lot on 13th Street in Wilmington. each with a 40 amp breaker, and the charging power is with that 40 amps, 3.7 kilowatts or 7.4 kilowatts. That's actually a little lower than you can probably get today at home, and a little bit and less than what you'll find on a charging station on the turnpike somewhere. But it is fine for what we wanted it for. The cost was almost entirely paid by the state of Delaware. In fact, Sally and I had lunch the other day with the DNREC person that actually administered the program, so we were able to thank him in person. The vendor that we've chosen is ChargePoint. So what ChargePoint does is they take their fee of 10% off the top, and everything else they handle all the transactions, and then we get the 90%. So we put in their units, and we had they don't put them in, but we had a electrical vendor put them in, and as I said, most of the charge was paid for by the state of Delaware. Currently, we set the cost at 20 cents per kilowatt hour, which is for us a break even, and it includes that 10% that that ChargePoint takes. So it's a break even for us. And we also can have a controlling dashboard. We don't have to go to ChargePoint to say, we want to raise it by a nickel or a dime. We have control completely with the app that we have on the desktop of the buildings and security man in our church. All users need to use it as have a cell phone with the ChargePoint app, a corresponding credit card, but also they do have to be registered with us because this is for our members and certain other people in the neighborhood or people in mission groups that are around the church a lot. So anybody that wants to can apply, and we can let them in. And this is where we put them right on 13th Street. You can see right above that circled area is our Daughtry House, which is one of the two houses or three houses we have now for men coming out of homelessness. And that has solar panels. So if you use your imagination, you can imagine that you're charging your car based on the sun directly. Sally's talked about the solar panels. We did solar arrays on that previous. You can see there's two buildings here with solar arrays on them. This is called Daughtry House. This is called Burton House. And then this is the main roofs of our church that we put solar panels on in 2024, having delayed several years while the roof underwent some repairs. Sally mentioned how we went under state and federal grants twice to get these arrays done. So the return on the investment, I think, is a very important thing. It would be about 7 or a little bit more years for the first two arrays that we put on in 2018. And because we had that special year of double incentives from state and federal, the churches, the arrays on the main building are going to only be about 5 or 6 years to pay off. Now, with the recent loss of federal incentives in the future, you're going to see payoff times for residential, I think, more like 10 years. But as Sally said, I think, Sally, we still have, with some strings, ability to get that federal 30% for another year.
Yes, that's right.
Okay. There's also people that will put solar panels on your home or your church, probably on a leasing arrangement. We didn't go with that, and we didn't ask someone in the church to buy the panels and operate the array and take a tax credit. But because we had sufficient funding, we chose to do it ourselves. In 2025, we generated about 54,000 kilowatt hours worth in money, about $11,000, and the two of our three arrays received solar credits, which was about another 1,000. So we're chipping away at the initial investment, and we do expect to, with rising electricity prices, certainly justify the investment that we made a number of years ago.
Roger, point of clarification, the federal incentive, I don't know what the situation is for residential, but for nonprofits, I know that there's a little bit left till July 27, depending on how.
Oh, okay. Thanks for the clarification. Here's the arrays just being installed. Community solar. Community solar is if you don't have a roof or you don't have, if you have an apartment, if you have a roof that is shaded, or if you don't want to have anything put on your roof, you can still subscribe to get solar power. Delaware passed legislation a couple of years ago to allow that. So, for example, Nexamp contacted me saying they had 2 community solar projects in Newcastle and Sussex counties that is scheduled for completion in this year for 14, almost 14,500 megawatt hours. That's 200 times what we were getting out of our new panels on Walton Hall. So these are industrial large scale community solar. Chaberton, I understand, is also available in Delaware. And the way this works is you get for that agreeing to sign up. I think there's no money up front. You get for 12% or high as 18% if you're income qualified, a discount on your electric bill. I would be very interested in knowing anybody that has signed up for this. I have found one person so far says it's working, and he gets a credit on his bill. So in this era of rising electric prices, this is a good deal, I think. Again, I'd be interested if anybody that listens to this has some experience. We also in Delaware and I think in Maryland have electric choice from Delmarva customers at least. So Delmarva is a power delivery company, but not a power generating company. No matter what happens, you'll still pay electric delivery charges to Delmarva. But a number of years ago, when Choice was opened, we got a contract with Constellation. I think it renews every 3 years. Back then, it wasn't necessarily clean energy we were getting, but we just wanted to have predictable bills and didn't want to have to play market games and go with market pricing when things were crazy in the market. So we've gone with 3-year contracts. And a number of years ago, we said, I think around 2019, let's see if Constellation has 100% clean energy. And they did. And we pay a slight upcharge for that. But that allows us to say that we are almost completely, well, for electricity at the main church buildings, we are 100% carbon neutral. I checked the price on our contract right now. It's that 8.13 cents per kilowatt hour. And that's good till June. And I think if I click on the screen, yeah, I think the price to compare from Delmarva now is $0.0981 or 9 cents. So a commercial contract is a good break. I have a slide here which explains my residential issues, but I'm not going to go into that unless I get questions. Certainly, you cannot get commercial rates for clean energy on your residential, but I've made the switch. I'm not sad that I did it, but I do pay a little bit extra to be fossil fuel free with my electricity at my house. Something else we've done out of necessity is pay very close attention to water. Water is a cost. It also, if you reduce your water consumption, you do reduce your carbon footprint as well. Water losses can occur from malfunctioning toilets, broken lines, rarely, poorly controlled sprinkler systems, and unsanctioned use of outdoor faucets. We do have a homeless population. We are an urban church, and we see that they do locate faucets once in a while and use them. I don't know that they've left them open. We have had some outdoor use unexplained. So faced with unusually high bills, we installed a security camera over the water meter. It was pretty cheap. It wasn't a Ring, it was another vendor, and it was only like $110 and $20 a year. And I can read that meter anytime, any day, and check to make sure that the little spinning wheel there isn't running and consuming water. It's paid for itself a couple of times. I check it frequently, and if some outdoor faucet's been left open, if there's a toilet running, we can take action, and we can, do tide tests on toilets, or check around the church for what we can hear for running water. So a running toilet can easily use 100 gallons per hour or 2,400 gallons a day. We had and years ago, someone left a toilet running in a area that wasn't used very much. It ran probably for weeks and ran up, $1,000 or more of bills. So this way we can easily catch that. Of course, most of us in our homes have replaced the old incandescent lights with LEDs. We can also replace the fluorescent lights. We had hundreds of T12 40 watt lights, usually 3 per fixture. And we replaced almost all of them starting about 7 years ago, I think, with direct wired T8s, that's the smaller diameter tubes, 2 per fixture. Still a few remaining in our boiler room, but they only get turned on maybe once an hour or less a week. And we've had good luck. Only one 4-foot LED has failed in the last 7 years. So using only 2 per fixture, we cut down electric use probably by a factor of 10 in classrooms and offices where we replaced these fluorescents. We did the ballast bypass rather than what's called plug and play, so that we could be certain that future failures of the ballasts, some of which were the old magnetic types, wouldn't cause any problems. And this was largely paid for by grants from the state of Delaware, although the return on investment would have made sense even if we hadn't gotten any grant at all. The return on investment was, I think we paid it off in a year and a half or two. And I won't say that replacing all bulbs is easy. We have, fortunately, a high lift, and I've been up the top of that 40-foot changing bulbs in the sanctuary to LEDs. It does sway a little bit, but I've gotten so I don't look down too much, and it's okay. A lot of this changing light bulbs and some of the other work couldn't have been done without a group of people helping me. And so we have what's called the Westminster Fix-It Corps. Mostly retired men who every other Thursday come around the church to do repairs, maintenance, painting, upgrades, electrical, all sorts of other tasks. We bring a variety of skills. If your church has retired gentlemen that are handy, this certainly is a good use of their time. Everybody wins. The retired people feel useful and happy to help, and we have saved the church lots and lots of money. The building also has had several upgrades, new offices or new windows on the office and classroom wing, an HVAC system that's digitally controlled, so only occupied areas are heated or cooled. And following the energy audits, we did energy audits on 2 of the outbuildings and ended up blowing some insulation into the attics. And I will say, if you haven't done this, it's not that hard. You get the unit from one of the big box hardware stores, and they sell you the insulation in bales, and you just blow it on up that tube. So, and it's not fiberglass, so it's not itchy at all. I've done it. It's actually pretty easy to do. Sally mentioned energy audits. I just wanted to give something a little bit more in depth about them, particularly the 2024 audit, which was done by the University of Delaware Mid-Atlantic Industrial Assessment Center. under the state of Delaware's Sustainable Energy Utility and the program of Energize Delaware. And it was really getting down to how we use our pumps, how we use our cooling systems, what speeds we run our motors, etc. And it included a week where they left devices on our equipment and then came back a week later to check and see how much use they've had, and then put out all into nice spreadsheets that we could see all the results. The cost was essentially nothing. I don't even know if it might have been $100 or $50 to have them come into the building, but they deferred that with free LED light bulbs that they gave us. And so I can't say enough about how important that was for us to see that we were running our equipment that we had correctly. We weren't getting all that information from our HVAC system, and we weren't getting that information from vendors that helped install that HVAC system. So this was another outside auditor, which is why you have auditors, give another point of view on things. So there's a good professor and a couple of grad students in our boiler room, and then up on the roof. I am less certain about all the things that are available in Maryland. Our presbytery covers the Eastern Shore of Maryland as well as Delaware. There's a very small utility called Choptank Electric Cooperative. I don't know what all the things that they offer, but the Empower Act that Maryland passed in 2008, I think created systems and methods and procedures similar to what Delaware has, where the 5 largest utilities in the state offer programs to help households and businesses save energy through a variety of incentives, including audits and weatherization and efficient appliances. This is the last slide before we take any questions that might be out there. Just some idea of how many tons of carbon dioxide we have saved from being emitted with our work. Changing to the LEDs in the offices, sanctuary, and classrooms, some 70 tons of CO2 probably saved since 2018. The solar arrays, maybe 134 tons. I can really track that much easier since we monitor our solar by minute through an organization called Solar Edge. So that's over 200 tons of carbon dioxide saved from going into our atmosphere as a greenhouse gas. I mentioned also the electric value of about $12,000 on the solar panels. So all in all, faith in action, reducing our carbon footprint, well worth it, not that difficult, and as I can say that as a member of Fix-It, I actually had a lot of fun doing all this stuff. And Sally, you want to take over now?
Thanks, Roger. So we've been through this process. We've been through the process of having an energy audit, and we've got some experience. And if there's a church that wants to embark on this process, let us know. We would be happy to help. And Marge.
I'm just interested in, I think Roger mentioned you went with a company that was providing you all wind energy, all something renewable, and it seemed like it was mostly wind. So I'm wondering where that comes from, since we've had such a contentious battle here in Delaware for wind.
Right. I really believe it probably comes from Texas.
Oh my God.
But
There are a
but
lot of windmills out there.
it's still effective though. It's incenting. It's
No, I get it. It's just that's just a quite yeah. I great irony. So-
yeah. It is highly ironic.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
And I would add one thing we didn't talk about is I think there's a great benefit to having somebody in the church have responsibility to monitor utility usage. look for any patterns, big jump in electric use or gas or
It,
water.
we are not happy with Delmarva for a lot of reasons. I mean, we have bills sometimes that just make no sense whatsoever.
Well,
And
we have an interesting thing at Concord because we have not been billed for how many years, John?
Well,
I
we
don't
don't know.
know. We
I
have
guess
not.
just a little bit of the backstory. We recently engaged Energize Delaware and Dr. Goosen and actually I think 5 graduate students came in and did a very nice audit in not too many hours. But they discovered that we had not been getting billed for natural gas. So it's pretty hard to save money in natural gas if you're not paying for it. But they
well,
still gave us some very nice recommendations, which I received 2 days ago. And we need, as an organization, to process which ones we do and don't. But your sharing today will add a lot to the how we address that. But we had not been monitoring water usage or natural gas usage. In fact, I'm not entirely sure whose responsibility, if anyone, that is. So your point is well taken.
well, we had a similar situation. We changed a gas meter, I believe, a number of years ago, and it never registered. So they never billed us for gas for 2+ years. And we had a devil of a time trying to get them to take care of that. So I don't know who's managing that aspect of Delmarva, but you contact customer service, they don't do anything. I think finally our buildings and security guy grabbed somebody off the street that was Delmarva and said, "Hey, look at this." And so now we are getting finally charged, but they didn't back charge us. Not yet. I don't know if they ever will, because I don't know if they can dig up those numbers.
Actually, our experience is very parallel, where they actually agreed not to back charge us, which was extremely good news.
Yeah. And now we have precedent for that too. Thank you.
Right.
So,
And-
Cindy, you can put that on the accomplishments for the presbytery that we're ratting on Delmarva. So
We
Yeah, that's
we
good
tried.
honesty.
Well, another time they gave us looked like about a 2-year credit.
Oh,
And it's like, what's this for? We never found out.
It could have been legitimate, but we didn't know.
What's
And
that?
it could have been legitimate, but we didn't know. The bills showed that we've been working off this credit for some time. I don't know.
Well, yeah, and then the trustees say, how come the bills are so much higher this year? It says, well, it's no longer free.
Yeah.
But John, to your point about having somebody looking at the utility bills, and who would do it, it hasn't been centralized at Westminster, and we're hoping to get that added to somebody's responsibilities as we kind of realign some job assignments.
Yeah, I pretty much have been doing it myself. And I think the trustees got involved a little bit when the energy spikes hit. And they said, what's going on here? And so, they've had a discussion with them. But yes, Sally's excellent point that somebody needs to be paying attention,
Mhm.
and close attention to the bills.
So I put in the chat both the link for Energize Delaware, which Concord already has taken advantage of, and the direct link to the PCUSA Earth Care congregations. And if you don't get those links for both of them, I just typed in PCUSA Earth Care, and the direct link showed up, and Energize Delaware's easy as well.
I have a technical question for Cindy. Does chat information show up in recordings?
It does not, but one of the things that we do is I will export your presentation as a PDF, and that usually keeps the links active. So
Okay.
people have access to the PDF and access to links there.
Okay, great.
I think you mentioned that you were one of 2 churches in the presbytery. Who's the other? Why are you permitted to say?
I meant to say it actually when I was on that slide. It's Trinity. Trinity
I thought maybe
Presbyterian.
that was the case. Thanks.
And you all could be the third.
And I thought Limestone was at one point. They've got solar panels as well, and maybe it's lapsed or maybe they never went through the process. Um, but it's certainly something that doesn't require solar panels. It doesn't require, major shifts. It requires those small things, a little 5% shift that ends up making a difference as it every year. A little less on electricity, a little less on water, a little more, savings.
As
Yeah,
far
and
as Concord potentially becoming a third, we recently signed up to be a Sacred Grounds congregation,
Wonderful.
and it keeps getting postponed because of all the snow, but we'll get there. But when I learned about the Earth Care congregations through the invitation to this meeting, which I was not familiar with, did some quick research and already are starting to take some of the concepts out of the Earth Care to sort of combine with some of the things we might do as sacred grounds. So if we ever have grounds which are not covered with snow, we can start doing some of these things. Now, none of this has been shared with, none of the Earth Care has been shared with the session at this point. So I wanted to learn more through this session so we can then educate them. And we have a lot on our plate already, so have to take this in the right pace.
Yeah, and within the next day or so, this recording will be on the Presbytery's YouTube channel. And Donna then makes a post on our website as well with those links. But it's a way to share the information with session members or with mission committees or anyone else who might be interested in doing a little bit more to care for creation. And I mean, honestly, what church wouldn't like to save money at the same time? I mean, it's even if that's the only incentive for taking some of these steps, it does both. It cares for creation and saves money.
One thing that may have impacted the number of people who are on the call now is the meeting invitation said is from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m.
Oh,
which I'm pretty dedicated to things, but that was starting to push the limits.
I did notice that.
oh, I didn't even.
Take that long.
Yeah, no. This is what happens when you're like, I know what it is, so I don't need to read that email. Yeah, we'll be done by 6. So thank you for your dedication, John. You will be rewarded with 2 hours that you probably already knew you weren't gonna have. I guess 3 hours. Man, 9.
Well,
And
I was on the Public Service Commission hearing for 2 hours last night.
Whew.
That was enough.
Yeah, we won't do that to you. So any other questions for Sally and Roger or other things you might be curious about?
How do you actually work topics into sermons and bulletin? How do you work this into the every Sunday life of the church?
one thing we've done is we've set our Earth Care Task Force, we've set a theme for every month of the year. And we've got a poster. We have one of our team members is fantastic at designing posters outside our Walton Community Hall with pictures. And then we supplement that with articles in each month's chimes, maybe 3 weeks of the month, 2 or 3 weeks on that topic. And we also have a fantastic member of our team, Aaron Wemhoff, who writes articles for our Chimes publications. So we have an article on a well-researched creation care topic in every issue of the Chimes. As for sermons, we've typically on Earth Day, the service has been dedicated to creation care. Roger, you have anything to add to that?
Well, we have a pastor who's certainly in sympathy with us and naturally works it in almost every closing prayer after the sermon, a lot of opening prayers, works the themes in that we've been talking about. And it's
Hymns too.
in hymns, right? So it does, we certainly feel like we've reached at the top and heard back positive positive reinforcement for that. So
John, I'm interested in what you all come up with for your sacred grounds. We put in a garden a few years ago as part of the Sacred Grounds, phase one of the Sacred Grounds program. And we have been kind of working to integrate that with the life of the church. We've had a few times we had services there in the summertime, and now thanks to Roger, we have Labyrinth. Roger designed and Fix It built. But I still would love to have more things happen outside in that space.
yeah, if you find something that really works out there that you do, I mean, we'd be pleased to know about that. We used to try and have an outdoor services in late April, early May, and we just haven't had the bulk, the number of people that would participate in that. So love to pick that up again, but I don't know that it will happen.
Well, as far as integrating our garden, which has not been, even the site has not been decided yet. So when we have less snow, we hope to pick that. But one of the leading contenders is a location where a lot of people go in and out, including the preschoolers and their parents. So it will be it may be in a very visible location, which will make it easier to make it a part of the life of the church. And we're talking about putting up hummingbird feeders and other things that the children can get more excited about. But we're extremely early in our plans, so it may be different. So,
well, I will recommend Pachyra aurea. Boy, what a great plant!
well, I have some of that in my personal garden. It's
Nice.
It's thick. It doesn't allow weeds to penetrate very much, and it's very colorful for a long time. So
yes,
Actually, I took a picture of mine. It was planted last year. I didn't know how it would look through the winter. It's green. It looks great.
Wow. I put a link in the chat. Presbyterian Church of Chestertown, which is Maryland, has this Green Stewards project where they have, in cooperation with some other organizations, a piece of land that they're creating this green space in with a community garden, a pollinator garden. Anyway, it's a long-term project. And they've got the land to do it, but just they put the direct link to the page on their website that talks about that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Do you think, in your experience of setting up the gardens, do you think there's any possibility of working with county parks? I'm thinking our church is right next to a county park. And there is some space there that's not playground, baseball field, whatever. I'm wondering if we should be exploring the possibility of using some of that, not for our sacred garden, but as a environmental awareness.
well, since that's a good idea, Marge, I'll try to explore that.
Great idea.
And
I've been suggesting we take some of the county park and use it as a new cemetery, but I think your idea is probably better.
we can plant better things than bodies. I went ahead and said it all the way out loud. I don't know about this area, but I know in Massachusetts, a municipality where my husband was serving a church actually worked with the church to put in a significant community garden with electricity and water, and that particular municipality anyway, that was something they wanted to support, so it never hurts to check.
Yeah.
Well, thank you all. We are just about at our 1 hour. Really appreciate Sally and Roger reaching out to me now several months ago and saying, we want to get the word out. How can we do it? And I said, well, let's do a Thursday training. So thank you for initiating the contact and for being available. If folks reach out to the Presbytery office asking for contact information, we will connect you with them.
Good.
In the
Good, good.
meantime, yeah, I mean, little things that we can do and maybe some big things as well. In March, we'll be back on the third Thursday, and the plan is to have Ellie Johns Kelly from the Presbyterian Foundation come and talk about something. It might be their stewardship navigator, it might be project regeneration, it might be reading a spreadsheet. Ellie and I are still deciding, but it'll be something financial in nature on March 19th, 5 to 6 p.m. But again, thank you so much, Sally and Roger. Thank you for those who were able to come during the Zoom, and I hope it's good information for those who watch the recording later.
Thank you, Cindy. We are
Thank
really
you.
grateful for this opportunity.
Yeah.